Hello, class. Welcome to Philosophy of Death and Dying for Fall 2020 semester. So this is Philosophy 220-801 in the catalog. My name is Aurelio Madrid. I'm going to quickly go over the syllabus today and the rest of it, or the rest of familiarizing you with the class I'm going to take care of by way of a screencast to give you some more specific details on how to navigate through D2L, etc. Okay. Then that is where you will also contact me as well. So oftentimes I'll be referring to emailing me, and that is on D2L, otherwise known as internal messaging. So that's where you'll email me, okay? And then on the syllabus, I also offer you my phone number, so you're welcome to call me or text me if you have any questions, okay? And then likewise, this semester we're gonna have a synchronous component that we're probably gonna be taking care of at 12 to 1:15 in the afternoon on Mondays, okay? That's not set in stone, but I'm pretty sure that's what we're going to do. And the class times are from August 17th through December 7th. And there is not a required textbook for this course. Everything that we'll be reading will be either online or on a PDF, etc. Okay? Then on the philosophy of death and dying. So it appears to be macabre to study death philosophically. Yet from its earliest beginnings, philosophy has tried to give us consolation to contend with our morality and the morality of others. Because we are mortal, our approach to death is multifaceted and a seemingly endless subject that draws our attention forward toward our shared end. The philosophy of death not only touches our lived experience, it can also serve as a way to introduce the study of the main branches of philosophy, interestingly enough. So death is metaphysical because it shows us our relationship with the world as finite, and to face death is not seen as a good thing. Death's finality, then, is something to come to terms with objectively, subjectively, emotionally, and spiritually. Death is tough to understand because it extends into something beyond experience itself. Therefore, it's metaphysical in a way. The question remains as to whether or not we experience death at all, since death is the absence of life, okay, or even the absence of experience. The philosophical discipline of ethics is wide-ranging in exploring the ever-present controversies surrounding the problems of death. The ethics of abortion wrestles with the life and death of the fetus. Euthanasia is the question about whether there can be a happy death for those who wish to end the seemingly interminable suffering due to disease and the contingencies of illness. This too leads us to the problems of science and its increasing skill at prolonging life, which is at the heart of how we stave off death's permanence and the discrepancy between organic life and cognitive awareness. We see that science helps us live longer than we ever have. Yet, what are the resulting problems that arise from this technological bargain? The death penalty is yet another controversy that leads us into the problems of putting someone to death who has also brought about the involuntary death of another person or persons. This then leads to the ethics of homicide, crime, and incarceration. Racism is tied to the ethics of inequality of death. The question of race is also a question of why the lives of people of color sometimes do not appear to matter. The ethics of war and the ethics of aging add to the long list of how ethics and death are bound together. Okay, so that's a big topic in philosophy of death and dying. Sex and death are tied together to ensure the promise of new life, new generations. Death is less linked to epistemology, the philosophy of knowledge. Perhaps thinking itself is understood in a dialectical question about the relation to death and the end of thought, the end of thinking. Death has an aesthetic component. How do we explain our culture's fascination with the undead? Zombies, vampires, goth, ghosts, death, and death defying sports, allegorical tragedy, the movies, painting, sculpture, and music also have death as a theme and as a monument or an event. The example of the crucifixion of Christ, etc. The most obvious connection we have to philosophy of death is through religious experience. To face death is for many a religious experience. How religion and death are bound together is usually the only way in which we engage death's inevitability. So this, of course, leads us to death's contradiction. Immortality and the infinite promise thereof. To die is to face the potential of total annihilation versus the promise that we will live forever. Then we are forced to ask, how does a soul survive without a body? Do we need a physical body to live? If nothing lasts forever, how do we justify an eternal life? Is there a way to think of immortality that is realistic and practical? How much of what we know is gained from those who are long past? Is language and the written word a secular means of attaining and securing immortality? With all this said, we still must not ever lose sight of the notion that all this focus on death enables us to seek an enrichment of life and authenticity. To start the day contemplating the significance of death is potentially depressing. Yet this thought is to be transcended in the name of better knowing our place in the world, our finitude, and our potential for growth. To transcend death is to live and continue to live. So then we have the course description that explores the major philosophical questions surrounding death and dying, the metaphysical arguments for and against the existence of the soul, life after bodily death, the major ethical theories and their relation to issues of physician-assisted suicide, care for the dying, the grieving process, death as expressed in aesthetics and contemporary society, as well as the existential contributions concerning meaning of life and the meaning of death. So that's for the catalog for community college system. Okay. Then we have the course prerequisites and the course learning outcomes and the topical outline. That's just a general way to understand the course technically. Okay. Then the course requirements and expectations. Every week, students will also be required to submit an assignment for either a discussion, weekly study objective. I will usually ask you to answer specific questions or perform specific tasks that will complement the readings. Sometimes this will include pre-assigned groups or working individually. This assignment will vary and will be submitted before the submitted specified due date, and I will offer specific instructions via D2L as we continue. So that'll be the most varied part of what we do, and I'll be offering you all the specific instructions and where to find all this online, okay? Then we have the withdrawal dates and the attendance policies, etc., and then also the grading scale, which is based on 1,000 points, and our participation points will likely be linked to our synchronous component, i.e. our Zoom meetings, okay? And then the rest have to do with a short essay, weekly discussion objectives, midterm and final exam, work toward final essay, etc., okay? And that'll all be broken down in the gradebook, and you'll see the details as we work through those throughout the semester, okay? Then the drop dates and the withdrawal dates, check out the academic calendar to figure out when the specifics of those are. Let's see what I have for the attendance policy here. So much of life is simply about showing up and showing up on time. Attendance will be recorded right away and will have to do with your participation and your submission on D2L. So your attendance will be linked to your D2L submission and also our synchronous components. Okay? And we're more than likely, as I said, going to be having that on Monday from noon, starting at noon, and it will probably not take all of the class time till 1:15, but just reserve that time as the place where I'm going to be offering feedback and follow up on content and other issues, okay? Live, okay, via our Zoom meetings, okay? Then makeup work and late work policies. Makeup work, essays, outlines, and drafts will only be accepted under these conditions. So basically, do not email me any work, okay? Especially if it's late. What you're wanting to do is submit all work, even if it's late, in the submission folder to which it's assigned. And so then that enables me to account for it when I'm grading it, and it doesn't get mixed up with anything else, because when students email me work, that easily is forgotten about. So when you have it in the proper folder, even if it's late, then I could account for it when I'm doing my grading. And my policy this semester is going to be that all students are allowed one late work per semester without any penalty. And any late work after that will be taken to 20% penalty off of the maximum score for that assignment, okay? And then we'll take it from there. The participation and group work points cannot be made up. Then the academic integrity statement, that's online, but just let it be known that on D2L, when you're submitting work, every semester I have students submit work that is from someone else's writing online, and I could usually spot it a mile away, even if even if I don't have the Turnitin similarity software turned on. So usually there's something in D2L called a Turnitin similarity, and that's the way to check for plagiarism. But even with that not turned on, I could still tell if work is being plagiarized. And usually what I'll do is I'll tell you this work is not your own, you need to use your own writing. And oftentimes it's not even answering the question, because usually there's no way to answer my specific questions that I ask you for simply by just Googling it and plugging in a question that you find, an answer that you find online, okay? So let it be known that it's just not a good idea. I could usually tell when the writing is not yours, okay? Then class cancellation policy, we don't need to know about that. Classroom conduct, doing the work of philosophy is active. Good thinking is itself good work. Taking the time to do philosophy means reading it, practicing it out loud, putting it into words. You will not always say or write the right thing, but I always want you to get the sense that you're grappling with the ideas in some way. And we'll be talking about that in our feedback and how to work through assignments. And then see the syllabus insert for any required additional information thereof. So following that, as I already indicated, I'm going to have a screencast that's going to give you some more details on how to find things on D2L. Okay, so thank you and have a good one. Bye-bye.